This poor Oompa Loompa needs RFK more than anyone else. As for the sake of this nation, please let's confirm RFK Jr. that now is going through the Senate confirmation hearings that are a little bit rough as we have a couple disruptions, but essentially what we have here on stage is the larger fight between shadowy, dark money interests, big pharma, the lobbyists, versus someone promising radical transparency. As the fight has just begun, who will win? As there's a lot of skeletons in this guy's closet. Holy frickin' cow! And we'll get into all of it here on this particular broadcast, as in the making of this video. The hearings are going on right now as there's a lot of people in attendance supporting RFK Jr. As, of course, as soon as he walked in, he got this reaction from the crowd there. As clearly, this man represents not only the larger kind of emerging health crisis here in the United States that needs to be recalled and put in check immediately, but he represents someone that pissed off the status quo, pissed off the establishment, pissed off a lot of people who let's just be honest here, make a money and make profit off of you being sick, fat, and dumb. As overwhelmingly, the American people have been let down. People who have traveled to America and have eaten the diet here have been let down. And everyone's always kind of like looking around, talking to each other, being like, hey, something's up here, especially when it comes to our food supply that has been absolutely tainted, as our medical industry, as we learned through 2020, is just as easily bought off as our politicians. And when we see the results, when we see the obesity rates, the depression rates, the mental health crisis, the cancer rates, the autism rates, all these larger health markers all go up towards a negative trajectory, we're kind of looking around here and we're like, does anyone have the answers? Does anyone have the solutions? In come RFK Jr., and he has been saying something that we have been saying for quite a long time, independent media has been saying for quite a long time, and that is that there's a deliberate soft kill larger agenda out there that slowly and surely is implementing a lot of policies, whether incentivized by monetary incentives or tax incentives or larger kind of more sinister incentives, is there. And it is largely affecting all of us in a non-consensual, non-informed way. We do not have informed consent in this country. RFK Jr. represents that informed consent that would put a lot of bad people profiting off of our misery out of business. And that's something I want. But guess what? Those guys, they also have a lot of money. And that's what they are utilizing. As I've been saying, that the corporate media has been working overtime, doing their best to slander and lie to the ever so downtrodden, beat up, and poisoned American people with their propaganda and misinformation and fake news. As Donald Trump Jr. just retweeted this post from the hearings where journalists already have, quote, puppeteers, PR of the ruling establishment, prostitutes of the horse-stream media, already have pre-written negative headline stories about RFK. They didn't even hear him out. They didn't listen to the hearings. They didn't listen to what he had to say. And again, we're seeing a different kind of RFK Jr. here. I've interviewed him. I've talked to him. I've saw him at particular events. He's playing very nice. I'll just leave it at that. But you don't even hear the hearings. You don't even know what's going on here. But you already have a predetermined outcome that talks about him in a negative way. That's not journalism, all right? That's top-level prostitution for the powers that be that are working overtime with a lot of slush funds, a lot of secretive dark money. As, of course, you're not going to get the truth from the corporate media that are just as easily bought off as everyone else. As look at this perfect example by Time. End Wokeness put this on Twitter saying, media before versus after RFK joined Trump. Time magazine wrote an article saying, why ultra-processed foods are so bad for you. And then, of course, a couple months later, they wrote another article. What if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Yeah, absolutely ridiculous takes here, as a lot of people who are in larger industries literally buy these people off to say whatever they want them to say. And it definitely does look like there are some individuals that probably have been bought off, or probably are just deranged individuals that are already disrupting the meetings. Individuals that I believe clearly aren't of sound mind, since they're not really critically thinking. I'll tell you why in just a second. But here's the clips coming out right now showing people being dragged out of these Senate hearings.
Will be in order. And to the audience.
Okay. Big observation here that I wanted to make here. As RFK Jr. literally is being interrupted from people who clearly aren't even listening, to these particular hearings, because everything that crazy masked woman was saying, and again, if you're going to disrupt, if you're going to scream, you know, and I've done this previously before through my activism phase of We Are Change, and I've done this a lot of times, especially when it came to a lot of kind of warmongers and globalists speak. I kind of stood up, interrupted, and I spoke out there through, you know, my vocal cords out there. Why master yourself? Why put on a mask? Atlas is looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm sorry, Atlas. Goodness gracious. Why do this? That's not smart, Atlas. I'm sorry. I'm gonna here's a little dog treat. Why do this? It makes no sense. Oh, no. These people clearly not the sharpest knife in the drawer here. As again, it keeps getting interrupted here. Megyn Kelly also here. A lot of them Make America First people here. And again, I'll tell you about the significance of this appointment in just a little bit. But again, this is what we're inundated with.
I want to emphasize.
And of course, there's that one particular topic that YouTube hates you talking about. We've been talking about this topic for like 15 plus years, by the way. And it looks like we were right. But having these politicians sanctimoniously kind of sit up there being like, oh, RFK Jr., you just want to hurt people. You are bought off. You just want to influence people. You just want to chase money and influence. Mother effer, you're a freaking politician in the hands of the lobbyists. You're the one taking all the big money donors. U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, by the way, is slandering and attacking RFK Jr. That guy took $1.5 million from the, quote, healthcare industry. So, yeah, the guy has a horse in the race here, as it's pretty clear to highlight, pretty clear to show everyone here that, these guys clearly don't really want him in there. RFK Jr. is going to be one of the toughest confirmation hearings. I think Tulsi's going to be the hardest, but RFK is going to be the true kind of canary in the coal mine to see what Kash Patel is going to be expecting, what Tulsi Gabbard is going to be expecting. These are the politicians that Donald Trump has surrounded himself, making this ultimate kind of populist America First coalition with, that has galvanized him to win the popular vote and galvanized a lot of people that were on the fence of supporting him to actually support him. It's these types of individuals that were behind him that galvanized a lot of people in the middle, a lot of the libertarians, a lot of the people who don't usually play in politics to say, you know what? Yeah, I want to see Tulsi. Yeah, I want to see RFK. Yeah, I want to see Kash Patel. I want to see all of these people in there. And now the Senate is what stands in their way. A Senate that sadly doesn't look too favorable for a lot of these individuals. But before continuing on with the larger ramifications here and what we could expect and how Bill Gates is really not happy, as of course another one of his pet projects was just also defunded by Donald Trump recently. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Before we do, take your health into your own hands. Do your own due diligence. Do your own homework. Make sure you research stuff before putting anything into your body. And we've done our own research. I take my own products that you could get on wearechange.shop, some of the best products out there. We got some really awesome stuff. They're on my desk for a reason, and that's because I take them. I take magnesium glycinate before I go to sleep. I take my fish oils sporadically, especially if I'm not having any fish in my diet. I take Common Sense creatine. This stuff is the best right here. I love this stuff. As it's not just physical performance that helps you with creatine, but also cognitive performance. And trust me, I've been working my butt off recently and having access to some of the best supplements since our food supply is poisoned. Absolutely critically important. Ashwagandha, right for some people, not right for some people. I'm not even going to tell you who should take it, who should not take it. You got to do your own research, buddy. You got to do your own homework. As of course, informed consent. We have information about these products on our website. We have videos on these products on our website. But again, some people just shouldn't take ashwagandha. Make sure whatever you do take, you do your own homework on. I've done my own homework on these products. I make sure that when I give supplements to my friends, I'm like, hey, these are my supplements. This is what I like. And let's see what kind of happens to you. Overwhelmingly, lots of great results. Lots of great people, that come into my studio all the time, take them and have a lot of good positive results. I give these supplements to my mom. My mom really likes them. I give these supplements to, especially creatine. I made sure to give Liza and Martha, since they're a little bit older women, creatine. Amazing results. Look at the studies and be expected to be surprised. But let's get back to RFK Jr. that has been warning us about our food supply being poisoned for a very long time. As of course, the slander just continues, and a lot of the conversations are specifically about procedures that, again, RFK Jr. Said he's not against, but he's for investigating. And whatever your stance is on these kind of procedures, you should be okay with double-blind placebo studies. You should be okay with investigations, because if you have nothing to hide, why are you hiding behind not actually doing your due diligence here, especially when it comes to injecting newborn babies with this at a huge astronomical level that we have never done before? All of this as levels of illnesses and sicknesses are just going through the frickin' roof. Might be a correlation there, might not be, but guess what? How do we find out about this? We investigate it, as RFK Jr. is promising, of course, radical transparency, and that's exactly what we want to see here. Here are some of his statements that I think are absolutely important.
On information, the doors are open. I've spent many years litigating against NIH and its sub-agencies, HHS and its sub-agencies, NIH, CDC, FDA, on FOIA issues, trying to get information that we, the taxpayers, paid for, and oftentimes getting back redacted copies after a year or 2 years of litigation. That should not be the case. And if Congress asks me for information, you will get it immediately.
And that's exactly what they're fighting up against. They're fighting up against, hey, we're going to have radical kind of transparency, as the people who have a lot to hide don't want that to happen. Big Pharma doesn't want that to happen. The medical industrial complex does not want that to happen. The insurance companies don't want that to happen. The people who believe that there's too many people in this world and they need to be taken out don't want that to happen, a.k.a. Bill Gates. Billy Boy over here, that today is speaking out against the influence of Elon Musk, saying that it's insane-ish that he's having any kind of influence internationally, specifically talking about the larger influence that Elon Musk right now is making in Germany, where he, of course, is propagating and pushing more right-wing conservative viewpoints as left-wing opinions dominate in Germany. And that's how Bill Gates likes it, as he gave $50 billion in shadowy, secretive money to, of course, Kamala Harris. And it definitely does look like he bet on the wrong horse here, as there's even larger conversations about his relationship with Mr. Epstein being potentially released here, as, of course, he's now accusing Elon Musk of stirring the populist right. Excuse me? You're the one with all the dark money. You're the one with all the NGOs and organizations and, quote, nonprofits that are funneling all this money to propagate left-wing, woke, crazy, insane ideology that essentially is all propagated, in my opinion, towards this larger eugenics operation, which wants to call and get rid of Western civilization. And that's exactly what it's doing. You look at the population rates, you look at the fertility rates, and you should be sounding the alarms, as a lot of the policies have been implemented by Bill Gates through, of course, all of the money that he has, and then he receives back from the federal government, as the federal government has been filling his coffers for far too long, as Donald Trump just snubbed and cut some of his funding. Why is Bill Gates, why is the man who literally has a gigantic mansion with dozens of rooms worth $130 million, why is this guy getting subsidized? Why is this guy getting financed? Why are my tax dollars going to this guy who brags that he's not going to downsize his gigantic $130 million Axedu 2.0 mansion? I'm not going to do that, you peasant, you slave, you useless eater. How dare you question my opulence and my success, as I am the billionaire that gets to go on private islands and do whatever the hell I want. You petty slave, better eat the bugs, live in your pod. You better not have any privacy. And Donald Trump cutting him off for funding. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted to see, especially after Bill Gates came out and said he had a wonderful dinner with Donald Trump, and he's super excited about the future administration. Well, it looks like Elon, it looks like Trump, they're not not playing to the nice words of Bill Gates and checking their receipts here and be like, how much money did you give to Kamala? Why did you support all these crazy leftist ideologies? And now the chickens are coming home to roost here, as the bigger battle now is unfolding with RFK Jr., as a lot of people are now pointing the finger at Bill Gates at being the main person that's working behind the scenes with a lot of organizations, with a lot of shadowy, dark money interest groups trying to prevent and derail RFK Jr. from becoming the next head of HHS. Now, there's going to be a lot of consequences here. I know Charlie Kirk, I know even Kate Shanahan has come out and said, hey, you know what? You guys stand in his way. You guys get bought off by Big Pharma here. We're going to primary you. We're going to make sure that if you guys screw over the will of the American people, we're going to make sure that American people will be voting your butts out. As Kate Shanahan had this to say recently, that a lot of people are resonating with, saying, you know what? They have all the shadowy dark money interest groups, but we're the people here, and we could let our voices be heard. We could call these members of the Senate. We could call these representatives that are supposed to represent us, and we could let them know we're going to do everything. We're not going to forget. We're going to write this down in our memo book, and then when your election comes up again, we're going to remember where you stood on this very important confirmation hearing. And will you stand with Donald Trump? Will you stand with the American people? Or will you stand with the dark money lobbyist and predator class that has been preying off of making Americans fat, sick, and dumb? We're very close to a Wall-E type of future. Let's make sure it doesn't happen. The way you make sure it doesn't happen is with RFK Jr. as the head of HHS. And again, I say this, I had a contentious interview with him. I respected him for that, by the way, because he was actually able to have real legitimate conversations that very few politicians are actually able to have. He was able to come into a larger debate, a larger conversation, and he was able to have it with me, and I got nothing but respect for that. Here's what Kate Shanahan had to say.
And that I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto, this is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long.
Damn right. Let's not live in a Wall-E-like society, as it's important to call out here a lot of these larger moves. Sorry, that was Nicole Shanahan, not Kate Shanahan. Sorry, apologies to Nicole, and apologies to everything. And again, I'm doing these videos off the cuff, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, going through all my kind of larger memories here. Now, I expect more skeletons in RFK Jr.'s closet. I always said from the beginning of this, and he even said from the very beginning of this, yeah, he has a little bit of a checkered past. So expect that, but you judge a man by the fruits of his labor. Overall, the stuff that he has been warning us about has been prophetic. And regardless of his checkered past, regardless of his stances, that some of which I disagree with, I still believe he represents someone that needs to be in there in order to promote radical change from a system that deserves to be radically changed. If you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching and subscribing. Stay tuned for more. All here. Get a supplement. Take care of your health. Start walking. Start prioritizing your sleep. Get away from stress. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.